What's up YouTube? It's Austin and I am back. I know it's been a minute and I've been very inconsistent in uploading, but the only thing that's been consistent in 2020 thus far, let's be real, has been the global pandemic. So on that note, I hope everyone's been safe and healthy throughout this entire time. For those of you who don't know me or are new to this channel or have forgotten who I am, my name is Austin Chiang. I'm a gastroenterologist and an advanced endoscopist, and what I talk about on this channel when I do upload are gut health, weight loss, procedures, me, my medical journey, what brought me here. Everything's on the table. This whole channel is in evolution right now. So part of what inspired this video is that I recently was on TikTok and I posted a video about one of these tools that I happen to do, and it gained quite a number of views, over 1 million views. So before I go any further, let's just take a look at that video. Hey TikTok, check out my favorite procedure. It's this scarless weight loss procedure where I go into the stomach from the mouth, place a row of stitches to shrink down the stomach. Unlike the surgical sleeve, none of the stomach is cut out. Alright, so for those of you on TikTok, please consider giving me a follow, but what I'm talking about in this TikTok is the endoscopic sleeve gastroplasty. So this is a procedure that we do that's going through the mouth using a scope, that's what endoscopic means, and we're creating a sleeve out of the stomach. So I've compiled all those questions into 10 most frequently asked questions, and that's what this video is going to be about. But before I go into that more, I'm going to tell you what I tell all of my patients. No matter what the treatment plan is, whether it is a procedure or a medication, what the foundation really needs to be is an optimized diet, preferably under the guidance of a dietitian. And the other thing that I want to emphasize is that this is a very personal decision to undergo a procedure, so don't let this video or anyone around you coerce you into thinking that you absolutely need a procedure right now. Give it some thought and come back with questions. So on that note, let's go straight into the questions. If you have any questions that pop up along the way, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. All right, number one, what is the endoscopic sleeve gastroplasty? As I mentioned, it's an endoscopic procedure that goes through the mouth into the stomach, and we place a series of stitches that basically shrinks the stomach down to 1/3 of its original size, providing you with the restriction and that sense of fullness much sooner than usual so that you can achieve that caloric deficit that's so important to any weight loss plan. Number two, who does this procedure? In an ideal setting, the person who is doing this procedure is someone who has undergone additional training to become a bariatric endoscopist. And that's not only doing procedures for primary weight loss, but also dealing with complications of bariatric surgery and whatnot. Having that background and understanding of obesity medicine is really important here. But in terms of finding out who around you actually does this procedure, part of the reason why I'm here is because this procedure isn't widely publicized or widely known, and so this is sort of an opportunity for us to introduce this procedure as another option to a lot of people who may be considering a non-surgical solution. So if you're looking for someone near you, I would suggest Googling endoscopic sleeve gastroplasty and wherever you're located. And if you have trouble still finding somebody, you can also reach out to the Association for Bariatric Endoscopy, which is a professional society of these bariatric endoscopists, including myself, and we can help you find somebody near you who can do the procedure. Number three, how different is this from surgery? So again, our procedure is called the endoscopic sleeve gastroplasty, and nowadays the most commonly performed bariatric surgery is the laparoscopic sleeve gastrectomy. Now what that name basically tells you is that part of the stomach is being removed in their surgery. So they go through the skin and they remove part of the stomach. Whereas for us, once again, we're going in through the mouth and we're sewing the stomach in from the inside. What this means is that there's actually a seam with the surgery that could potentially leak or open up as one of their potential complications. Now the endoscopic procedure tends to be a day procedure where you're in and out of the hospital the same day. Some surgeons will require that their patients stay overnight after their procedures. And the last thing to mention in comparing the two is that the weight loss that you achieve with the surgical sleeve is slightly better than the weight loss with the endoscopic sleeve. However, the trade-off is in those risks and the complications that we were just mentioning. Number four. So on that note, how much do you actually lose? With the endoscopic sleeve, based on the data that we currently have, it's about 20% of your total body weight 2 years out of the procedure. We don't quite have the results 10, 20 years out, so if there are any structural changes that cause weight regain, there's also the possibility that we can go back in and fix that. Number five, do the sutures break and does everything loosen up? The first thing to know, and a question that I often get as well, is whether or not this procedure is reversible. The sutures that are placed are not absorbable, so they are meant to be permanent. Now over time, because the stomach is a very active organ and constantly moving, plus there's gastric acid that the sutures are being exposed to all the time, there is a chance for these sutures to break. The key is that we want the structure to hold so that there's been enough time for everything to heal and remodel over before those sutures do break. So there have been some studies where people have gone back in to take a second look after a certain amount of time and have noticed that some of these sutures have broken, but if there's enough healing, the shape of the sleeve still holds. Number 6, can I get this procedure done if I've had a sleeve gastrectomy before, a surgical sleeve? We have some reports that this has been done in patients who've had this done before. There isn't any long-term data or large studies that really tell us whether or not the results are reliable. But that said, I think that the mechanics of it still are the same, and a lot of patients have expressed interest in wanting to undergo an endoscopic procedure rather than some sort of revision surgery, which oftentimes can be from a surgical sleeve to a gastric bypass. Number 7, do I qualify for this procedure? Now, typically speaking, this procedure is reserved for anyone with a body mass index 30 or greater. Now, body mass index is dependent on height and weight, and you can easily calculate your own BMI by going on Google and searching for a BMI calculator. However, weight is not the only thing that goes into determining whether or not someone qualifies. It really needs to be an individualized decision. There should be a discussion with a doctor in person, presenting you with all the options before deciding whether or not it's right for you and whether or not you qualify. A lot of people have different medical conditions that could affect their candidacy for this procedure, so it's best that you review this with your doctor. There's no one-size-fits-all explanation here. The next question is, what complications are there for this procedure? Typically after the endoscopic sleeve gastroplasty, people experience some discomfort and possibly nausea as well. And I tell all my patients that you're gonna feel something was done in this procedure. If you're not feeling like anything was done after your procedure, there's a possibility that maybe not enough restriction was achieved. But that said, we obviously want to minimize how uncomfortable patients are feeling, so what we do is we pre-medicate and often ask patients to start taking anti-nausea and pain medications the day in advance, so that by the time you're coming out of the procedure, you have all those medications on board in your system so that they're already working. There are other much more rare complications like inflammatory fluid collections or anesthesia-related complications that we always need to keep in mind, because there is no procedure out there that doesn't come without risk. And lastly, probably the most common question that I get asked, how much does this cost? Typically, around most parts of the country here in the US, this procedure is not covered by insurance. There may be some exceptions here or there. So with that said, the typical price tag is somewhere around $8,000 to $15,000 depending on which center you go to. And a lot of that variation might also depend on what's included in that whole package. Whew, I know we covered a lot of ground in a very short amount of time. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below and I'll try my best to get through all of them. Also, if you want to have some of these questions answered in person, I'm located in Philadelphia if you happen to be nearby. And one last note, please don't forget to click the subscribe button and the thumbs up if you like this video. You can also follow me on all of my social channels at Chiang MD. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye!